Hi, I had a client session today, and it was about, well, it ended up being about multiple things. It's the interesting thing with TCH is once you start illuminating the actual issue comes into illumination. The thing that we think is the issue is actually on the surface. What's actually the root cause of that is below. The analogy I have for this is when you take your car to the mechanic because the check engine light is on, you want the mechanic to check the engine and not the light. And a lot of the trouble with a lot of therapy or self-developmental work is that typically clients will have a conscious idea of what they think the problem is. But the truth is, if they knew what the problem is, they wouldn't have the problem in the first place. They'd be able to resolve that problem. In actuality, the pain point actually points towards where the issue is. It's not actually the issue itself. This is the value of having someone skilled to be able to ask the right questions, to not just get caught in the thought loops that clients end up regurgitating and repeating to anyone who will listen, but actually getting beneath those conscious stories into the subconscious, into the visionary layer of the word, as it is in Tantra and Sanskrit. When we can get to this layer, so the first layer is the spoken, the second layer is the mental impressions, the third layer is this visionary layer where it's really just imagery. It's where these subconscious stories and patterns and beliefs are held. And when we can get to that layer, we can start to rewrite old patterns and re-engineer the life that we're living. This is because with these rewritten beliefs, it then goes the layer up into the conscious thinking mind. Thoughts then bubble into that space. Thoughts have not just a linguistic element to them, but also the other end of the spectrum, the emotional vibration that's attached. In Tantric teaching, thoughts and emotions aren't separate, they're just opposite sides of the same coin. You can't have a thought without a feeling or a feeling without a thought. So when we have these thoughts which fuel emotions, they then inspire aligned action. Now, there are two types of action in Tantric teaching. There are kriyā actions and karmic actions. And the difference between the two is that karmic actions are conditioned and conditional, whereas kriyā actions are actions done purely for the joy of doing that thing. And this is how people can end up with a karmic debt. When action is done with a desire or a particular outcome in mind, it's not clean action. It comes from these impurities. In Tantric teaching, there are essentially three impurities: impurity of individuation, impurity of differentiation, and the impurity of action. And when we can do some rehab on those first two, which are essentially the two fundamental lies or variations of that we tell ourselves. One, that I'm not enough, and two, that I'm not loved. When we can resolve these two mistruths, these two impurities, it then follows that the action we take ends up being aligned action towards what it is that we're desiring. And so in my session that I had with the client today, he was experiencing feelings of anger and frustration at the work that he's been doing, not feeling appreciated at his workplace, and also was having difficulty with doubting himself. He has a project that he has been working on, but struggling to really trust to know what to do next. And that's because at the heart of it were these held beliefs that were rooted in past pain. And when we could identify what they were and begin to smooth them over, then inspired thoughts began to come into his consciousness. And with those inspired thoughts, he was able to find the aligned actions that was going to inform him as to the next step that he was going to take. And so this is the power with TCH, is that in being asked the right questions, we can start to illuminate the truth. And when we can work from the truth, then the actions we take become aligned towards the thing that it is we're wanting to achieve. And so if you're experiencing feelings of frustration at work or doubt within yourself as to a project that you've been working on or a desire that you've been working towards, the invitation is to really notice what thoughts and emotions come up, to really analyze those. You can do that with dream yoga. And then from that analysis, I begin to identify what's actually true, and as well as what belief am I holding? What truth am I holding in proxy to the lived experience that I'm reaching towards? And from that position, we're able to resolve the suffering. In Tantric teaching, it's said that suffering occurs because of ignorance to the truth of what is. And when we can abide in truth, then we can absolve ourselves, free ourselves from our suffering, and begin to move in alignment with life once again. That's the liberation, the jīvanmukta, the life liberated, when we can really reside in our truth. Regardless what happens, we can find this sense of gratitude and appreciation for it. A celebration of what it is, which is life moving through us. This sense of lila, play. From that position, from that grounded centeredness of essence, nature, we can begin to move freely through life, not getting stuck in the samskaras, the anthology of scars that we carry, but actually free ourselves from those scars so that we can live a life aligned. So if you're curious to know more, you can check out some of the other videos. I'll leave one. Which side is it? I think it's here, but it may be here. I'm still trying to figure out which side it comes on. But I'll leave some information about what TCH is and about how Sanskrit and mantra can really support. And feel free to reach out and share with me anything that felt resonant for you. If you're curious to try a TCH session, you can find a booking link in the description. Wishing you all the best, and remember, the divine isn't something that exists above you, it's something that exists within you. You are the dreamer creating this dream. Cheers.